Welcome to Call to Activism Africa. Yet another great day and a beautiful weather here, and a beautiful time to share with you, our dear viewers. Welcome again to Call to Activism Africa. Kato Mukasa is my name, and I'll be hosting this beautiful conversation, beautiful episode tonight with my sister, Linda Tilly, who is based in South Africa. Today's topic is very interesting. My body, my right, supporting transgenders in Africa. With me tonight is my co-host, Linda Tilly, based in South Africa, with whom we are going to share rather a lot of good stuff. Again, join us and enjoy with us as we take you through this very interesting topic. And definitely, we are going to welcome your wonderful views. We shall be reading your messages towards the end of this show, and we shall be giving you feedback. And remember, we can always give you feedback throughout the week on a topic we do discuss here. Again, welcome, my sister Linda Tilly, based in South Africa. May you please go ahead and greet our viewers.
Good evening. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are really pleased to have support from so many African countries. I know that most of you are watching after the show goes live, but it's wonderful to have you with us. We've had people from all over: South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Ghana, Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and it's just been overwhelming to see the response that we've had after just 3 weeks. And it's really lovely. We've got a lot of interaction on our WhatsApp group as well, which Kato started. I see there are over 200 messages on there. I haven't actually caught up on those yet, but I will do. And our Facebook page as well, where the whole team that works on the show is busy every day of the week putting articles and very interesting videos on there that you can all go on at any time to watch. We're trying to make it a central area where we have fascinating and often not seen before or not widely available videos and topics that we cover, which will be lead up to future shows that we do. And as always, we always ask people if there's anything you'd like us to discuss or bring up in the future, a show you'd like us to cover. We'd like to have guests on our show from across Africa helping us learn about new topics and discussing issues together as representatives of each of our countries. And I just thank Kato for having the idea to put this channel together and for inviting me to co-host it with him. As a fellow humanist, it's wonderful to work with you, Kato. And I'm always inspired by your writing and everything that you do. Kato is a very well-known author. He's written numerous books about African life and humanism in Africa and poetry as well, which are all available on Amazon. And I do encourage you to have a look at the books that he's written that are so full of knowledge and experience from having lived a life in Africa doing the work that he does in human rights and in law as well. So I do encourage you also to look him up and see all the things that he has covered over his life. And I'm honored to be hosting with you, Kato, and to be just working with a fellow humanist, because we sing from the same page, from the same song sheet, which is really wonderful. And the team behind the scenes as well that work with us across 2 continents to put the show together. And we just hope that it will obviously reach as many people as possible. So please share our posts, and we will advertise before the time what we're going to be discussing every week, and every month we'll have a different sort of theme. And we want to focus upcoming in August on various African countries and devote one show just to one country where we discuss all the issues and things that are taking place. And we can realize that we all face the same issues in each of our countries and we have the same things happening. And there's obviously a reason for that. And there's a reason why we all need to talk and unite together to overcome common issues that we all face as a continent. Thank you, Kato.
Thank you very much, my sister. And I can tell you, or as I do tell you, that you really inspire me a lot. You keep me going in my hard and good situations, because I look at you and know we must keep going. I look at you and I get inspired because you have the fire in you, which I like. And I wish we had 100 white Africans like you. Just 100 would have changed the continent. And we have thousands of white Africans, but they are laid back. They fear to talk about these things. That's why I take you as a miracle happening to Africa. Yeah, I'm not Christian.
Thank you.
I'm not religious, but I use that analogy because we have thousands of white Africans born in Africa, staying in Africa, doing nothing to awaken Africans, conniving with others to steal from Africans. Because
exactly.
You know?
Many of our white people are also compromised and have also been brainwashed to believe that as well. And I am in the minority, I know, which is why I feel that if I need to speak out about it and to speak out for the things that my race has done and is still responsible for on this continent. I've lived here for 50 years and I've seen lots of changes in Africa. I will never leave Africa. I love Africa and the African people. And I just believe that I think the older you get and the more you see and the more changes you see that aren't happening, that should be happening, you realize that I'm so tired of keeping quiet now, and I'm so tired of seeing things happen and see more and more of our people being killed and oppressed, and it's got to stop. It's really got to stop. There are so few of us. We need to stick together, because just as the evil and our evil governments and presidents stick together and they're all in cahoots, planning and working against us, I always believe, and I'm not religious, but I believe that the light will always overcome the darkness, and that good is stronger than evil. And the more the good unites together, the stronger we will become. And the fact that we've all been split by borders and countries and fences, there's a reason for that. And we have to start breaking those fences and borders down and start seeing each other as family and neighbors, not as foreigners. You can't call someone from a neighboring country a foreigner, and then your people are forced to flee to real foreign lands in the UK, USA, and Canada. And I also have a fear that the Black African people are being raised to be the next slave trade for the West, the next slave people for the West. We have people being forced to run to places like the UAE for better salaries than they can get in Africa, and they are being treated horrifically. Abraham is working on a case this week with a Ugandan lady who went to Saudi Arabia. She's had her passport taken away and she's had everything taken away. She hasn't been paid for 2 months. She's been made to sleep in a room on a cold tiled floor. She's had her phone taken from her, and she's been told she has to stay there for 2 years and complete her contract. And this is happening to people across Africa. People are so grateful to have a job in the UK, washing dishes or sweeping the streets, because you're paid more here probably than like a doctor. But I just think it's so wrong, and we need to start standing together and helping each other out more than helping other countries that are battling, raising awareness. If you can't help them physically, like I raised awareness for what's happening in Nigeria and what's happening in Uganda now as well, because those are my people too. Even though I'm not from West Africa or East Africa, I see all those people are African people. They are part of who I am, and they were born on the same continent as me, and we have to start helping each other out, because as I just said in our pre-introduction as well, I'll say it again here, the West is not coming to save Africa. America is not coming to save Africa. The United Nations is not going to swoop in here with all these peacekeeping troops and save us. God is not going to save Africa. Allah is not going to save Africa. Only Africa can save itself, and only African people can save each other and help each other. It's people who are giving food, it's people who are giving refuge, it's people who's helping. It's no supernatural being that's doing it for us in Africa. And I have watched horrible videos of people being killed and tortured, where they call out in their last minutes of their life to their God. And I think it's also like God has put a lot of the people where they are. God is not going to save anybody. We have to start looking at things like grown, mature adults, like the intelligent people that we are as Africans, and look at reality and realize we've got to start saving each other and standing together as a continent. And that is why this channel is so important for us, Katra, because we are connecting with so many like-minded Africans, and we are able to offer hopefully solutions for people, and we can have lots of people join us and learn from them as well. And to just realize that we really, really are all one. We are all the same. At the end of the day, it's very simple. It comes down to good people and bad people. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how well known you are. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It's down to good people and bad people, which you find in every single race, every single religion, every single country. You have the good and the bad. And it's the good people finding each other and sticking together and becoming stronger together as a unit, unified, good African people, which is what we hope this channel will achieve long term as well.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
my sister. And that's why we are having this platform. I wanted to speak that, and you have done justice. That's why we have this platform. We are going to talk about the topic today. But before we go to that, we have to give you an introduction so that you know where we come from. We come from a continent which is a cosmopolitan continent, where we are black, white, red, brown, name it. We are one people. So we need to find ways of fixing our continent because it's our mother. We live there. That's why I say that if you had 100 white Africans like Linda who come out and defend their continent, who come out and awaken people, who come out and talk about good governance, talk about human rights, people who don't say these are their affairs, blacks and their affairs, yet they live in Africa, yet they've been born in Africa, yet they are part of Africa. Africa is their home. If we had more Lindas in Africa, we would have been a better continent because we would have been fighting together as a unit. Right now, we are divided. Whites alone, blacks alone. Even the blacks, in their stupidity, they are divided. I should say that again. In their stupidity, they are divided. Blacks hitting blacks, killing blacks in South Africa because you are not so much South African than I am. So this platform brings out these silent issues, and we want to find solutions. That's why we are here. That's why we are going to be talking about the hard topics: homosexuality, abortion, this sentence, bad regimes in Africa. How do we have the best for Africa? Exploitation, economic terrorism in Africa. Why our wealth being taken away? If a white African has an accident in Africa, she will die because the roads are bad. If she has an accident and the hospitals are sick, she will die because the hospitals are sick. It doesn't matter whether I'm black or white. If the hospital is bad, all of us are going to die because Africa is our home. So it's now or never that we talk about these things, but also look for solutions. So Linda, I'm going to invite you, talk about homosexuality as a topic in brief, then I'll pick it from there and we'll continue.
Thank you, Kato. I like you use the analogy of a car accident, because we know that car accidents are a very popular way that our dictator presidents like to kill people who don't agree with their way of thinking. My friends always warn me, please be careful when you drive. I said, don't worry, I take an Uber. I use different transport all the time. But jokes aside, I mean, if I look at Uganda as well, the number of people who have, especially journalists, who have been killed in car accidents. I think 3 foreign journalists in the matter of maybe 2 years have been killed in car accidents in Uganda. So I just thought I'd get that in because you know me, I always have to get a little dig in about all our dictator presidents whenever I can have the opportunity. So there we go. I won't be visiting Uganda using cars to get around anytime soon, put it that way, or Nigeria. So we have been covering the topic of homosexuality in Africa since the beginning of this month, because we decided that the topics that we have to cover are such a huge topics that we need to be able to dedicate a month to them at a time, and to have people, like-minded people that can join us for discussions and as guests on the show. So that's what we chose for the month of July, and we've had 3 episodes so far, which you can go back and see on our channels. you can go back and listen and watch those. So we do encourage anybody, like I said, if you've got anything interesting, if you are a part of the LGBT community in your own country, so please let us know, say hello, drop us a message. And if you have online support groups and platforms that other Africans will benefit from, and we can all sort of connect together. We find that there is a lot of discrimination against homosexuality in Africa, just as there's a lot of discrimination against people who are godless in Africa. I think those are our two most targeted groups here. And we decided that we needed to start standing up for each other and standing up for other countries as well, with laws that they're trying to have written into their books and things. You know, we need to stand up and say, well, just because it's Kenya or just because it's Ethiopia or whatever, it doesn't concern us. It does concern us, and we need to start showing our support for other countries as well. I used the example of the ridiculous witchcraft laws that they were trying to have written into Malawian law last year, where a lot of us got on board to support Malawi with that and to stand against that. Oops, have I gone off? What has happened here? I went off there for a little bit. So I have covered some of the topics about homosexuality. Kato has also covered. Kato has a lot of experience with the law and the legal side of things, which I have no knowledge of. So there is a lot to learn from that as well. I have been speaking on the last week's show about the discrimination that homosexual people face, the challenges that they face in their everyday life. And I think that the message that we're sort of putting across is that we need to accept that homosexual people, and by this I'm saying homosexual, but I refer to LGBT, queer, it's transgender people, women, lesbians, male, gay, and then we have our, there's a whole range there. It's basically any person who does not fit what society says with the male-female role. And we discriminate against these people, but if you ask people why, they can't give you an answer for their hatred. They say the Bible says it's wrong, religion says it's wrong, it's not part of who we are as African people. But this is just regurgitated nonsense. Nobody actually knows. Nobody's actually researched it or gone in. And we've got to stop allowing ourselves to be brainwashed and forced to think certain things as African people. Because we are critical thinking people, we are broad-minded, intelligent people, and our history proves that. And we must stop dumbing ourselves down by believing what we're told. It's fine to question things. It's fine to question what you're taught. Just do it politely and do your own research. You don't have to be rude about it. But when you look at the things, we've covered the whole history of homosexuality in Africa and its origins here long before the slave trade and the colonialists set foot here with their Bibles on our continent. So people would need to really look into this and go through recorded history and what evidence we do have of the fact that it has always been present in Africa. We've also tried to dispel the myth that people become gay. People are born the way they are. It's just like as a straight person, I'm born straight. I do not have an attraction for same-sex people. The same way someone else is born differently, where they are only attracted to same-sex people. And I say this to straight people all the time. Imagine if it being straight and only sexually and emotionally attracted to someone of the same sex, opposite sex was wrong. Imagine if that was wrong, it was a sin. Imagine how you would feel. I'm not talking about a sin. I'm talking about the religious aspect they have and the law. It's a wrongdoing and the law, it's a crime. How would you feel? What rights do you have to judge somebody just because of the way they choose to live their lives? We've covered on that a lot, so you can go back and look through other topics. And I'm just going over these as a sort of introduction to what I'm saying today for people who haven't watched before, which just bring people up to speed. What I've presented, and I will still be writing an article and putting it on the Facebook page for people to refer to with links, is studies that have been conducted overseas, because it's going to be a long time before we can conduct studies and get funding in Africa because it's such a taboo topic. But people, where there's actually medical proof of biological differences in people, and where psychiatrists and psychologists have done studies to dispel myths that people believe, like, for example, all homosexual people are pedophiles or people are like that because they were sexually abused as children and things like that. And I just thought that we have got so many other more important things to stand up and stand against in Africa. Why are we choosing to stand against innocent people who are just leading the lives that they were meant to lead because it's a natural part of who they are? What right do we have to discriminate against them and to hate them so much and to ostracize them and throw them in prison and kill them? There are far more important things, and you must also look at this and think, are these things perhaps not being stirred up by the media and that because they're trying to keep us apart as African people? What about that amazing community of hundreds of thousands of LGBT people across Africa? If you discount them completely, you're discounting a whole portion of our population of wonderful people. Why do it? Why not stand together with those people who you perhaps don't agree with their sexual orientation and what they do in their private lives? It's got nothing to do with you anyway. Because you can stand together and you can work together on other issues, really important issues on our continent that are far more important than how someone chooses to live their private sex life. And I also said there's too much emphasis when I speak to people on the sexual aspect of it. And people go, oh, and all that. Well, it's private. Even with straight couples, what goes on behind closed doors has nothing to do with anybody else. It's not your right to judge people for how they choose to be sexually. And just like with any long-term relationship, sex forms an important part, but a small part of that. Gay people support each other, they love each other, they're there for each other emotionally, they help with the joint raising of children, they each have, like in any relationship, your strengths and your weaknesses, and they prop each other up, just like a normal married couple. And we need to understand that they are not these sordid, horrible, low-life people. They are just normal people like you and I who live their lives differently. Just because someone is different doesn't mean that it's wrong. They don't do what you do doesn't mean that it's a crime. And we need to just start being more accepting of homosexual people, especially in Africa. I'm very, very saddened to hear of all the recent corrective rape killings in Kenya. And I've seen some horrific comments that have been forwarded to me that have appeared on Twitter and on Facebook by people, Christian Kenyans, who are absolutely outraged and defending these horrible attacks on people. Supposedly in the name of their God, and they are actually basically saying, yes, it's sin, the Bible says it's sin, they must be treated like this. And that is so wrong. It really is very wrong. Beryl, who was supposed to join us this week, unfortunately, I think due to work, she's had to go this weekend to a remote part of Kenya where there is not much satellite internet coverage, so she's unable to join us tonight. But she will be joining us in the future again. Because Beryl has started a wonderful community in Kenya, and she's been very supportive of all the people LGBT queer across Kenya. That she's working with people to form a community of people, a strong community of people for support. And I think that we all need to lend our support. I've seen a few attacks recently that Beryl's received on her Facebook page, and I've gone to defend her as a fellow African, as a Zimbabwean. And I think this is what we also need to start doing, because social media can be a very horrible place. When you see that someone you know is being attacked for their beliefs or the fact that they're gay, you need to, instead of just reading it and leaving, it doesn't matter. It's the same as with the religious. I defend religious people if I see they're being attacked poorly, although I'm not religious myself. And you just defend people who are being treated badly by other people for whatever reason. And just show them a bit of support and let people see that they think they're just attacking a person online in their country, but there are other African countries and people that are saying, hold on, guys, no, this is not right. So I think we can start in small ways like that, showing support for each other. And just, yeah, so and at the end of the show, or at the end of my little talk here, I'll explain to you exactly the ways that we can do that and channels that we can reach, which we'll also put on the Facebook page, the links. I wanted to touch on last week, I was going to discuss it with Beryl after I'd spoken to her, is the way that the challenges that LGBT people face in their everyday life that we often don't think about because they don't affect us, so we don't think about them at all. There was a book that was published, I didn't even know about it, in 1995 called The Pink Swastika, and it was written by a guy called Scott Lively. Now, this was a book, first of all, I looked it up. It falls under the category pseudo-historical. Now, people just see historical and they think it's history, it's historical fact. Pseudo actually means not genuine or real. So it's like a joke. Pseudoscience, pseudo-historical means that it's like a tongue-in-cheek take on things, or it's not a true account of what really happened. So it's pseudo-historical, but everyone just ignored that and just saw the historical part of it. And it's basically, this is a book that I believe caused a lot of damage overseas to LGBT people because it stated in the book, the fake story that it said, that gay men controlled the Nazi party and it's gay men that orchestrated the Holocaust. And it also speaks in the book about how Hitler sought gays out to work with because they were apparently known for their brutality. Again, misinformation. This, however, was taken as fact, and it's caused a lot of problems for people in the LGBT community. It has since been discredited by historians. So historians have gone in and pulled the book apart and said, you know, first of all, it's pseudo-historical, but people are obviously taking it as historical. So let's just show you exactly what happened in history, that there's no proof of any of that. And in fact, there were 50,000 to 100,000 gay men arrested for homosexuality during the Nazi regime. To try and respond, this just shows how damaging misinformation can be. This book, written how many years ago, it's still to this day being seen by many as in fact, and it's perpetuating the image that gay men are brutal and are just like killers and that, which is very, very damaging. So that's just one example that I learned of, and I'm sure that there are many examples that I know of that. There are several examples in Africa of things that have happened which are blown up to be more than they are, and people just run away with it. They just get the wrong end of the stick and off they go. And I need to say, we have to be careful. I think social media is a wonderful thing for us in Africa because it's the only thing that's connected us all together. But we have to understand that once it's realized that we're forming such strong connections with people across Africa through social media, that is going to be compromised, and there's going to be ways. I already see it in countries like Nigeria and Uganda during the elections, where the internet just mysteriously went off during the election time, and also Nigeria, where they were banned. Twitter was offline. That was after the Lekki massacre, when people actually live tweeted and got out on as they were being killed, which has also been denied by international organizations and overseas, just like Phoenix massacre in Durban, just like Kasese massacre in Uganda. And you start realizing that there are common threads here. And what happened in one country will happen in other countries. We've just had the Cybercrimes Act of South Africa brought in December. It's now being reinforced here this year. And I just think, here we go. South Africa is one of the last countries, but we're starting to get those restrictions too. We need to be very careful what we believe on social media. And it can be a very dangerous, dark place. And I always say to people who are suffering from depression or are feeling really down, just stay off social media. Stay off it for a couple of weeks. And when you do see blatant misinformation on there, like stuff that's going on now about a corrective rape in Kenya, stand up for those people and show that you're not believing everything that you hear. So there we have a pure example of something that I used that I hadn't even known about, where a lot of misinformation has been put out there to the public. And I think the book is still available for purchase today, and I doubt that much has been done to put big labels over the cover to say this is a fake story. But another thing I wanted to talk about, and Kato, you can also expand on this with your legal experience, is there was a lot of resistance in places, I think like the States, America, against the hate crime laws. Worldwide, there are a lot of people who don't believe in hate crime laws being put into place. And I know, I think it was one of our first shows where you covered things, and I lost connection that night because of my network issues, but I'm sure that you've also touched on this. Hate crime laws, and I couldn't understand quite why people were against them, because you would think that hate crime laws are a very good thing to have in place. But apparently the belief was that by putting hate crime laws into place, you would be protecting gay people, which is what they're supposed to do, the laws. But people also had this idea that by putting hate crime laws into place, it would mean that people would be able to commit crimes and get away with it. And once again, they were talking about, if we do this, gay people are going to be allowed to get away with crimes like pedophilia, bestiality, and necrophilia. Bestiality is having sex with animals, and necrophilia is having sex with dead bodies. Where on earth that even came from? I mean, you could just as easily say straight people. You could say people in general. A very small percentage of the populations do these things, but it was all put down to gay people. If they're given protection, they're going to start doing all these things. And this is what I'm just saying against these people through research that we've also spoken about on the show. There's no link to gay people being pedophiles. There's no link to gay people sexually abusing people or raping people. There's an even balance between heterosexuals and homosexuals, and you can't pin that on one particular group of people. So I think this has also really caused a lot of misinformation, because people think if we protect gay people in Africa, that means that all these horrible crimes are going to just be happen, and people will be able to get away with them. But it's not the case. It's been proven as well. If you look at the people that are committing crimes like bestiality and necrophilia, and that a very small portion of them are gay people, or from a certain country or a certain race, or it's an even balance of people. So this is also something that has been put up, is that hate crime laws will protect pedophiles, which is complete misinformation. Look at things that you hear a little bit beyond what you're told. But this is unfortunately our African education system. You see, it teaches us just not questioning that. Question, ask people. There's nothing wrong with asking questions of people. And the best thing you can do is actually get it from the mouth of someone in that group. Speak to a gay person and ask them, and they will be able to tell you. You're not going to be able to find the answers if you hate those people and you don't want anything to do with them, is what I'm saying. And the summary of these studies that they did is that even as a protected person, it won't take away from the fact that illegal activities are still illegal. So it's not to say that if you are protected as a gay person, you're going to be allowed to get away with a crime, another crime that you commit. That's what they meant by that. And then as the research showed, which I'll put the links to that research on a post that I do, there is no link to crimes being committed more by gay people than by straight people. A lot of rapes and pedophilia are actually committed by grown adults in opposite sex marriages. So it would be a woman who's married to a man that's sexually abusing children, or a man that's married to a woman in a long-term marriage relationship. And once again, I said that because these are all crimes, there's no mention made of, if we put this law into place, it means that people who rob banks will be able to get away with it, and people who hijack cars will be able to get away with it. It's all focused again on the sexual aspect of things, which I think, and I'm sure that many LGBT people watching tonight will agree with me, is that I get tired of people completely focusing on the sexual aspect of being gay. It's a very small part of a relationship. So why on earth sex crimes are always put in the same category as LGBT people? It's there again, it's misinformation. It's just because it's to do with sex and it's a sex crime, you automatically think it's LGBT people. No, it's not. And you will actually lose out a lot if you isolate yourself from a whole group of people in your country or your community, because everybody has something to offer. Everybody has something to learn about and learn from. And if you are isolating yourself from whole scores of people, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, because you're isolating yourself from a lot of truth, and you're believing rather in the nonsense that you read on social media and that your friends tell you and that you're taught in church. And I think it's about time we have to start realizing that we need to start using our own brains and thinking and speaking to people. I have learned so much that I have because I have stepped outside the lines of what's expected of me as a person and spoken to ex-criminals or criminals or drug dealers or gay people or people of all different races and ages, always. And I've spoken to people, not that to say that I agree with a criminal or a drug dealer, but I want to find out why do you do this and what are your reasons for this, and have you always been like this? And that's where you start to form real stories about people and really find out what's happening to them. The other thing that I wanted to just let me know how I'm going for time was with there's a big thing worldwide. I know it's the same in Africa, that gay people are not encouraged in the armed forces. Well, gay people aren't encouraged to stop anywhere in Africa, but I'm saying in countries where people have been open and they've had laws in place to protect them and be more accessible, like America, there's still a resistance to having gay people in the military, and that is apparently because they are seen as being somehow weaker. I don't know, because a man who prefers to have a relationship with another man, you'd think that it would be a much stronger physically position than two women who physiologically we're not as strong as men. But there's just, if you break it down into actually a medical perspective, why don't you want gay men to lead in the army, groups of gay men, or have two men working together in the army, military, who are both gay, because they're weak apparently. But if you look at the facts, they are actually not, they're actually a lot stronger. So there has been this whole thing as well, because believe it or not, there's this pure image of the military. Well, by pure, we certainly can't include our African militaries in that, which are actually, okay, there's a thing coming up here. We don't have militaries in Africa. We have a group of thugs, criminals, rapists, pedophiles, looters, torturers, masquerading as a military. Africa doesn't actually know what a real military is, unfortunately, because our military is filled with criminals and thugs. We see that especially in Uganda and in Nigeria at the moment. Those are the two countries I work closely with. And yeah, that's unfortunately fact. It is fact. Serial killers also, I believe most of our military are serial killers, and they're just getting away with it because they're doing something that they can get away with, and it's been justified either by religion, like in a place like Nigeria, or it's been justified just because it's justified that they can do that against other people. But I'm not going to go into that now. Okay, that was my little dig. I had to get in there. The pure image of the military, and gays are not seen as being pure for some reason. Tests have actually been done and shown that the people that have been open in overseas militaries about being gay make up about 10% of the military, 2/3 of the military. A lot of them leave because of pressure. But those are only the people that have come out openly. And 10% is quite a large amount of people who are willing to come out about it. So you can imagine that the number is probably a lot higher. And I would say it's probably true for most of our militaries and police forces in that around the world. So the things we had touched on there was just basically the discrimination that we need to really look at. Why do we discriminate? It's not a good enough reason for me to hear someone say, well, I don't like you because you're black, or I don't like you because you're gay. I need to know, what are your reasons for that? You can't just say that. And like I said, when you speak to a lot of people, they don't have a real reason. And most of it comes back down to what they've been told and what their churches and the Bible told them to believe. And I think it's sad that we are still following the laws of an ancient, badly written book that was written by a group of men years and years ago, when there's so much more exciting knowledge and books to read out there. And we're still so hung up about this old book that doesn't really answer many questions. And being told, oh, we're not supposed to know, only God knows, one day the answers will become clearer to us. It doesn't cut it anymore. I'm sorry, we're living in the year 2022. And God doesn't even have WhatsApp. I mean, come on, guys. Doesn't even get hold of anybody on WhatsApp ever. Although I must say, there's a Zimbabwean pastor who says he has a direct line to God, and he phones them or chats them on WhatsApp on a Sunday. But you know what? His churches are full and everybody's going there and tithing. So he's making good money out of that. So I wanted to end by saying that the biggest thing that I've tried to expose on these shows that we've done on homosexuality is that people are born gay. They can't change the way they are through corrective surgery, through rape, through prayer. You are either born gay or not. You're either born straight or not. And a lot of people only realize that they are gay when they enter puberty or pre-adolescence. You can't change how you are. You absolutely cannot change how you are. You're born the way that you're born, and that's just the cards that you've been dealt in life. You can't change that. It's not a mental disorder. It's not a defect. And I think we've got to stop thinking of gay LGBT communities as being, then I don't want to be gay. I don't want to associate with gay. What's wrong with them? Do they have a contagious disease? Do they have to be quarantined? No, they're just normal people. We've got to stop the stigma of gay being something horrible and something that we want to stay away from. It's been gay. It's been different to you. There's nothing wrong with it. So it's not a mental disorder, but it's known as well that gay people suffer a lot more from, and I'm talking about gay, I'm talking the whole umbrella of people that fall under the category of LGBT queer, because they are put under so much stress, especially when they are first discovering their sexuality and realizing that they have attraction to same-sex people. It's mostly during puberty. The teenage years, where all of us have been through those, and you know, it's a very difficult time where you're adjusting to things and there's a lot of peer pressure and things like that. It does cause a lot of gay people to suffer from depression, and there are people who do self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, gay people are found to suffer more from mental issues. That's been taken as being gay people have mental disorders, and that's no, it's not that. It's just that they are under even more pressure than your average adolescent or teenager or person is at that age, because they are going against everything that society is telling them. They know it's not how they feel inside, and it does cause a lot of mental anguish. I also touched on all the suicides we have in Africa, especially young males of a certain age. And I do wonder whether a lot of these are perhaps gay people that have been brought up in communities and families and schools and churches where they just can't live with themselves anymore and they commit suicide. And I think that's something we also have to take into account. There's a lot of young teenage, young adult suicides taking place, and it is mostly young men in our communities. And we need to, you being kind to someone and giving them the time of day, just talking to them or even just giving them a smile can sometimes make a huge difference. But I always say, every single person you come across in your life every single day is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Just be kind to people, because often you can do or say the smallest thing and it will make a huge difference to that person and maybe stop them from doing something dangerous that they were going to do, from taking their own lives. So that is something that I'd say with the mental disorders, meaning depression, mental anxiety, panic attacks and things like that. Just imagine if you were living every single fiber of your being, of your life, denying who you were and what you knew was right because your society was telling you it was wrong. That puts a huge amount of mental pressure on people, and we need to be more aware of that as well. Biologically, people are different, and they're still conducting tests, but there are genetic biological genes that cause some people to be straight or gay. Those are still things that are being discovered that we need to understand. There's proof that, but you see, a lot of the people who are anti-gay, they don't believe in science either. There's a reason why that's taught also as being a bad thing, because science tells you the truth, the irrefutable truth of what's going on in this world. The Bible doesn't. It's all nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's like reading your children a book with the same book their whole lives. You would never do that, would you? Because you want your children to learn and to discover lots of different authors and ways of thinking. But yet we read from the same book all our lives and we believe that book. It's just terrible, and we need to start really looking at that as well as African people, and realize that it's something that has been forced on us. It's been used as a tool of control, and now unfortunately we're using it on each other, and we're hating and killing each other in its name, and it's very wrong. So that was also what I wanted to talk about, and that we have covered in the series the proof that crimes are not more prevalent in gay communities, people who commit crimes, and that there's no link between the fact that people were raped by same-sex perpetrators as children don't then become gay, and in the same way that gay couples don't commit sexual crimes or abuse against their children. And I also think this is very sad because there are so many children in Africa who need homes, who need to be adopted, but yet you're not allowed to adopt a child if you're gay. And it all goes down to this old stigma as well. Gay people can't biologically have children together. They should be allowed to adopt and give wonderful homes and loving homes to all the children out there. But you would rather see a child live their life in an orphanage with no love or stimulation from a mother and father than you would allow that child to go and live with somebody with two mothers or two fathers. Because why? Why deny a child that right? Because of your belief. And then you've got people that are wonderful parents that will never have children, and you've got wonderful children that will just live a life of misery and poverty, all because of something in a book that you've been told is wrong, but you don't actually know anything about it. So we've really got to start looking at things here and thinking logically about things that it's not right, you know? So I also referred to things last week, which I will put there. Nicholas Grassi is a pioneer in the field of child sexual abuse. Overseas, has disputed a lot of these things. And there's a USA Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychologists that have also disputed a lot of things through studies they've done over the years. I think it's very sad that we have to have such a thing. Such a career as a child sex abuse specialist just shows you how prevalent it is. Several years ago, I met a well-known surgeon who specializes. Yes.
I'm going to have to stop you in your tracks.
That's fine. I'm at the end of my thing. Thank you, Kato.
We have 14 minutes left, so I'm going to use those minutes.
Goodness.
I want to thank you so much for that
very
educative
Thanks. And hello, Emmanuel from Malawi. I've just seen him there. Hi, Emmanuel from Malawi. Welcome.
Yeah,
Sorry.
We have quite many from Malawi. You would now look at those messages and then come back later as we conclude. We have 14 minutes to go, and I'm going to use those minutes very fast. Now, we don't, let me go to the basics now. In addition to what my sister has already said, just for emphasis, I have to say that this platform does not promote anything, as some people may want to insinuate, because you can't promote homosexuality, as some people are going to say, oh, they are promoting homosexuality. We are promoting fairness. We are promoting equity. We are promoting humanism. We are promoting Ubuntu. How do we live in harmony as people in Africa? How do we stop scapegoating? How do we stop refugees from Africa that go to Europe and America on the card of being homosexuals? Some of them actually not even homosexuals. But because they know you are killing homosexuals, they are going to use that card. So how do we avoid the hemorrhage of people running away from Africa, genuine homosexuals, people getting killed and going elsewhere for safety? Yet, as Linda rightly has said, our history shows we have been living with these people. So we are here to bring that unity, to bring that message of love, to bring the facts as they are. So in 2013, I wrote this book, which I am happy to share with you. The book clearly is about homosexuality and learning the myth about homosexuality. This book came out in 2013, Busting Stereotypes and Myths. And I wrote it in conjunction with Freedom and Rome, which is a lesbian organization in Uganda, of course, with support from the Norwegian Humanist Association. And we took 3 years researching this book. I researched it, I wrote it, I interviewed over 100 homosexuals in Uganda and some homosexuals in Kenya and Tanzania. So this book is rich. Came out in 2013, and I took copies to Parliament of Uganda. because at that time there was a stupid law which we called Kill the Gay, the anti-homosexuality law. Now, I must say I'm a lawyer, I'm a human rights advocate, and a defender of all rights. When you go to law school, you don't learn how to defend straight people alone. You don't learn how to defend blacks alone. You don't learn how to defend women alone. You learn how to defend humanity. Now, I've been doing that work, just like my sister Linda, for all those years. And I began working with the gay community in Uganda in 2007. So you can calculate and see how many years I've been part of the gay community. And I must say, I'm not gay. I'm straight, just like Linda. But I'm a human being first. Now, when you talk about these things, these issues, we talk about them from the point of humanity, from the point of wisdom and love, because we are knowledgeable, because we know what we're talking about. Today, we're talking about my body, my right, transgenders in Africa. How do we support them? But I will use this very book to define for you a few terms. For example, who is a transgender? All of us know homosexual. Today, we're talking about transgender. A transgender is a person who happens to identify with or expresses a gender identity that differs from the one the person was born with. If I was born male, but I feel like Linda, I feel like I should be in Linda's body. This body is not mine. I'm transgender. I want to be Linda. I want to be a lady. But I was born man. Oh, Linda wants to be me. She's born a lady, but she wants to be a man. That is transgender in brief. They normally say in their circles that the body I have is not what I feel. The body I have is not what I love. I don't feel it. You may see me as a woman, but honestly, I feel I'm a man. I feel all the characteristics, all the hormones in me force me towards a different identity. Now, that is transgender. Of course, we know they're also transsexual. Transsexual, a person who has a stronger desire to assume the physical characteristics and gender role of the opposite sex. This person has a strong drive to assume the characteristics of and the roles of a gender sex. I am a man, but I want to be Linda. I want to do things Linda does as a woman. Because like it or not, biologically, there are things we do because we are of that sex. Like it or not, there are things we do. There are not so many. A woman does because she's a woman. A man does because she's a man, because of the hormones we have. So someone who is transsexual is a person with a strong desire to assume the physical characteristics of gender roles of the opposite sex. Now, biologically, science has shown us that people are there. I went to school with boys who were actually feeling like women. And I've seen some girls who really feel inside them they are like men, or they are men. The word even liking is misleading. So when you use a law to imprison these people, you are not fair, because nature is driving them. Nature is dictating them. No one teaches me how to love a woman. Me, when I love a woman, when I say woman, I love a woman. When I like her, nothing pushes me to do that. It's natural. I like her. I admire her. The same happens to a woman who loves a man. But also the same happens to a transgender. The same happens to a homosexual who loves a fellow man. For you who is straight, you think this is queer. This is not normal. Because for you, you are wired that way. But not all of us are wired the same. My brother may be gay. I may be straight. And sometimes even as humans do things that show we are confused. Talk about a man who has anal sex with his wife. A man who has anal sex with his wife. How do you call this man? A gay person, a homosexual, or a heterosexual? He's a man. He has anal sex with his woman. So transgender issues are issues of human rights. In 1994, there was a scenario in Uganda in a place called Kivu. A man, I'll put it in quotes, known as John Sembajwe, went to this market dressed as a woman. And she had assumed a name called Brenda. She wanted to be called Brenda. Brenda was her name. She was putting on lipstick. Now, when the people saw her, they said, "We know you. You are Sembajwe. You are not Brenda." The people descended on her, beat her up to threads. She was bleeding. And we are saying, "You are a man. Why are you putting on a dress?" They were killing her for putting on a dress and lipstick. And when the police intervened, the police actually added to her misery, because instead of arresting those who were beating her, the police took her to a cell. And the next day, after 3 days, she was aligned before courts of law in Uganda, in Kampala, and she was sentenced to 30 days in prison for, 1, being idle and disorderly, 2, for fake representation. That they were saying she was misrepresenting herself. You know, that is Uganda for you. But this person who put on a dress said to all and sundry, "I'm not a thief. I have money. I've come here to buy fish. Why are you beating me for putting on a dress?" Why are we Africans so stupid at this level that we cannot even allow someone to put on a dress? And we think we are offended because someone is putting on a dress and lipstick. Why are we so narrow-minded? So when you talk about gender issues, these are people who want to defend. People who feel differently and offended by our stupidity, by our violence, we kill them for being who they are. Brenda, alias Sembajwe, wanted a dress. To me, what does a dress take away from me? If she put on a dress and goes to the market and doesn't steal anything and buys her fish, goes back to her home, why should I beat her? This is why we say, Africans, before we blame anyone else, we must fix our shit. We must fix our behaviors. We must fix our characteristics as a people. As I speak today in Uganda, there is Anobi, a small boy I taught, now a big man in South Africa. If you can check his page, it's called Wells Magufuli. I taught him when he was 14, 15, 16 years, for 3 years, at a school called Kampala Student Center. He says, "Now, I was feeling as a girl inside me that was born a man." That boy, who is a man now, was beaten to death. I'm making a video coming out next week. You'll see his scars. He was beaten almost to death. I mean, he has scars. He was beaten almost to death. He was forced to go to Kenya, to a refugee camp as a refugee. Today he's in South Africa. Why was he being beaten? Because he was putting on a dress. Because he was putting on lipstick. And me, who knew him, he's kind of person who was dancing perfectly well, the Kiganda dance, which is a dance more for women. The guy was so good. His waist, the way he was twisting and dancing, the traditional dance, it was so good. So when he told me 7 years later that, look, I was actually a transgender, I believed him. Today, he lives in South Africa as a refugee. Why? Because Uganda couldn't tolerate him for putting on a dress and lipstick. When you check his Facebook page, we hosted him here, you will see him putting on like a lady in videos. But that is his freedom. Why do we need to beat him? Why do we need to force him into exile in a country he has never loved to be? Why can't we, as Ugandans, as Africans, tolerate things and major in major issues? Why do we leave Museveni, the thief of the continent, to steal our country dry? To allow investors, fake investors, steal our country dry. And we don't do anything about Museveni and his thieves. And we beat homosexuals. And we got so mad because someone is putting on a dress. How stupid are we as Ugandans? How stupid are we as Africans? How stupid are we as Black people who don't think beyond the immediate, who don't think long term, who don't think the big picture? Why should we be considering homosexuality as our problem when our minerals are being stolen? When we are being sold guns to kill each other? When Boko Haram is in Nigeria killing Black people? When South Africans are beating themselves silly because they think this is more Black than this one? Why shouldn't we look at things the way they are? We are saying tonight that transgenders naturally are what they are who they are. They are normal. They are not sick. They are people like you and me. So we are saying my body, my rights. When you look at Uganda, I will give you cases. cases of people who have suffered in Uganda, and I've written them down over the years. People like Martin Mubiru, who was forced to leave LODC because she said, I'm a woman. Though you say I'm a man, me, I'm a woman. She was forced to leave Lord Women's Center. At one point, she had a rough time to finish her diploma. Why? Because we cannot accept that this person can actually be a woman. Because we think, because this person has a genitalia of a man, therefore, that's what it is. No. Identity, gender identity is different from gender and sex. People are different biologically. That's why we are saying today that some athletes, the runners are stopped from running. They say you have more testosterone than the other. Why is science showing us that? That I can be a man who has more testosterone for a woman. I can be a woman who has more testosterone for a man. Therefore, when I'm running, I have more energy than the average woman. So science now is stopping these athletes from competing. But myopically in Africa, we can't allow them to exist. People like Noah Mirembe, a trans man, was beaten in a taxi. People like Peace Hope, a trans woman, was beaten at a pub. Whereas Magufuli have mentioned him. These people are being witch-hunted in Uganda alone. In Uganda, we have only one successful case I'm going to talk about. One successful case of a person who has changed their identity. And this person is called Cleopatra Kambogu. You can Google this person. This person is unique. How? She set a precedent, I can say, in Uganda. Why? She was born hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means this person had 2 sex organs and went to the university, completed education as a man. But this person, Cleopatra Kambogu, felt like a woman. She has 2 organs. So what did she do as an advocate for change? Went through the law, but first through medical operation. Because in Uganda, the Registration of Persons Act of 2015, our law, I'm quoting it, the Registration of Persons Act 2015 allows hermaphrodites to choose the identity they want. So if you are born with 2 organs in Uganda, our law, and I'm repeating, the Registration of Persons Act 2015 allows you to choose a gender. So you want. So this is what Cleopatra Kambogu did. Went to a doctor, you must go to a doctor, a certified doctor, and have a surgery. So she went and had a surgery. The male organ was taken off and the female organ was left. After surgery, the doctor must write a certificate for you, which you take to government offices and you change your name and you change your transcript and you change your passport. This is what Cleopatra did. Therefore, success story. The whole world was saying, oh, the first transgender in Uganda, the first official transgender to be allowed in Uganda. Yes, that is true. But not every transgender in Uganda is like Cleopatra, is an hermaphrodite. Because she was, like I can say, she was born with 2 organs. Therefore, she could choose a gender she wanted. But not everyone is born like her. Today, she's female, but at university, she was male. So we are saying we have this law which allows hermaphrodites to choose their sex. Why don't we have a fair law which says, among others, that if someone's medically, scientifically is proven to be in a wrong body, why don't we be what we want to be? Look at Europe and America. People have been allowed to be what they are. Then when they call us backward, we complain. We complain. But why do we complain? When actually we are backward. When actually we cannot think beyond the reality. That people like Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, was allowed to change their sex. Did America collapse because Caitlyn Jenner has changed from a man to a woman? A famous Olympian gold medal winner who was a man for all those years and then changes into a woman and the world moves on. People like Ravenna Cox, Andrea Pejic, Isis King, April Ashley, the model, Elliot Page, Zaya Wade, Rain Bloom, Nana Ashland, and others have been allowed to be what they are in Europe. in the America. But America and Europe have not collapsed because these guys have changed gender. Because these guys have been there, allowed to be who they are. Why do Africans lag behind in everything? That even the basics, we can't do it. We kill our people because they are gay. And we leave robbers stealing our national treasury, stealing our national resources in Uganda and in Africa. We leave politicians to do whatever they want. We don't even touch them. We leave them to abuse the law, to do whatever they want to us. They kill us. And we look for soft targets in homosexuals. So in conclusion, I'm saying one thing: my body, my right. It's high time as Black people, as white people in Africa, as Africans came together and we identify things that matter to us. What is it mattering to us right now? Our minerals, our debts, our bad leadership, our bad roads, our bad hospitals. Homosexuality has nothing to do with those things. What's wrong with us? Stupid religions which were imported and imposed on us. Bad education, I call miseducation. Those are the issues Africans must be concerned about. Poor roads, poor health system, poor education sector, bad leadership, corruption in our countries, not gay people. Not gay people. We must realign our focus. Our paradigm shift must be seen to be active. I want to conclude on this because our time is out, 60 minutes, and we normally want to keep time, 1 hour each show, 1 hour each episode. I'm concluding on that very note. I want to thank you so much. I want to thank my sister Linda for being a hardworking lady. I admire you so much, and I believe if you had 100 white Africans, because they are there in Africa, we have thousands of white Africans in Africa, born in Africa, raised in Africa, thousands of them. None of them is thinking like you. Now, I want to provoke them to think like you. I want to provoke them, white Africans, to think like you, to come out and defend the country, the continent they are born into, the continent they love so much, that have given us, all of us, life, to defend it from oblivion, to teach our continent, to empower our people. I want to thank so much the viewers who have been online. I'm going to give 5 minutes to Linda to say a conclusion because I've concluded. Thank you so much for being the best we can have, and we promise you to continue having this discussion going forward.
Thank you, Kato. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. It was really interesting to hear. Thank you so much to everybody as well for all the comments. I still have to figure out how to reply to the comments on StreamYard. It's the first time we've used it tonight. Wonderful. I just looked through them and I see we have comments from people all over Africa and from Ethiopia, Malawi, Robert from Uganda, and other people there that I don't know. Thank you so much. It's wonderful. And also the lady who commented on the importance of LGBT parenting. I do agree that is something that we need to. There we go, Viola. That's wonderful that we need to speak about. And like I was speaking about all the children that need homes and about how how parents make wonderful parents. And that is a very important topic that we also need to cover. So thank you. It's really great getting feedback from everybody, and it's great seeing people from all over Africa joining us on this platform. I think that this whole discrimination against gays is just something that has been enforced on us to split us even further. We're split by race, we're split by countries, we're split by religion, we're split by the religious against the non-religious, and we are split by our sexual orientation. And these are all such unimportant things at the end of the day. And we're focusing so much energy on hating our own people for whatever reason because we're told it's wrong. We're not actually focusing not our hatred, but our energy that we put into being hateful towards other people, into standing together against terrible rule and against the fact that so much has been taken from us as Africans. And our minerals are being taken from underneath our feet by our government. And with the West, and we need to start opening our eyes and seeing what's going on, and we've got to stop hating each other and standing together in solidarity. So I really agree with that. Sorry, I have a whole lot of rescue animals for dogs and cats in my home. I see 2 of my cats have made an appearance a few times tonight. So thank you so much, everybody. It's really great. We love getting the feedback on the channel as well. And I'm really, really pleased to see new names and new people popping up. And it's wonderful that we've got support from countries that we don't often interact with. We've got a group, there are a couple of countries that we are very closely connected with work that we do with human rights. And it would be really nice, there's about 12 of us, and it would be really nice to expand that network. Because at the moment, I don't want us to become too exclusive. It's Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Malawi, Nigeria, Liberia, and what about everybody else? What about Angola? Namibia, they're having a lot of problems at the moment. Botswana, Lesotho, all our Swaziland, our African kingdoms that still are sort of in the form there, and all the other countries in between. Let's start talking. It's wonderful seeing people from Ethiopia. Yeah. Ethiopia is a hugely significant country. It was one of the few countries that was never colonized by the British. And the Ethiopians, there's a huge number of godless Ethiopians. I was very, very surprised when I made contact with the communities there 2 years ago in Ethiopia. Also in South Sudan, huge numbers of like-minded people, but these are people that are hiding. You know, they operate underground as if they were criminals because they can't come out with who they really are as people. And gay people as well, LGBT. So I just want to say welcome to all those people and for coming on the channel and for being brave enough, because a lot of people, people who are watching maybe from outside Africa tonight, a lot of people take a huge risk putting their names behind a show like this and commenting on a show like this, because they can be targeted and killed just for speaking out about what they believe in. And that, you know, we've got to start looking out for everybody. Yeah, and see who the real enemy is. The real enemy is not your fellow African neighbor. He's not a foreigner. We need to start looking at things from the right perspective, I think. And hopefully this channel will help us to do that. So thank you, Kato. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We will be back at the same time next week. And if there are any topics you'd like us to cover in the future, anything you'd like to be a guest on the show, please let us know. We would love to just interact with everybody across Africa and with like-minded groups. And learn from each other, things that we don't know about what's happening in your country, issues that you're facing, or things that are working out for you the way you are maybe, I was going to say getting laws and that into place, but I know that that's not happening anywhere in Africa. So that's all from me. Thank you so much, everybody, for me and 2 of my cats. Good night, and we'll see you next week. Thanks,
Good night.
Kato.
See you next week.
Love you guys. Love. Bye.